4X game, and it is like 4X. The user need to use your empire to explore, expand, and exploit and exterminate. And the theme of game is kind of like a war and conquering and constructing. And we can see on the picture there are two army from two different empires and fight with each other. And and why in this game one unit need to cost one hexagon to stand, and on the picture the green gas is poisonous for all units, and it can injure your army, but unless you are aliens. And there are three ways to get to victory: harmony, supremacy, and purity. Harmony is like live with aliens, and supremacy is destroy the earth, and purity is using earth people to destroy aliens. And there are eight countries for you to choose, and they have different advantage, which will help you to experience your games and develop your empires. And this is technology trees in the game, and they are very important for your empires to develop, and they are flexible and to help you get to success. And this is virtuous. They have might, prosperity, and knowledge, and industry. They are in different parts. The red is for the army, green for agriculture, blue for the research, and purple for the development. And for this game, it has beautiful models and interface. And the most important part, I think, is it can switch the game picture from 2D and to 3D. And that's all. Thank you.
Alright, so I'm here to talk to you today about a game called Risk of Rain. It was published in 2013 and has been one of my favorite indie side-scroller shooters that I've ever played. It's a game where you run around and you just shoot a bunch of monsters, and the game gets harder the longer you play, up to a maximum level of, well, the game laughing at you. And you'll see in a moment. So you start off by selecting a character, and you start off with only the character on the far left, the Marine. And you're running around, you're trying to find your way back to your ship, so you're killing monsters on your way. And throughout the way you're playing the game, you will find different creatures or different objectives that will allow you to collect more characters to play. And so each of these different characters has a different way to be achieved. Now, you collect money and experience throughout the game, and you can spend that on shrines, chests, or drones. Shrines have a chance to drop something. They don't guarantee it, and they go up in price every time you use it. And a chest has a set price that will always give you an item of almost equivalent value. And you can pay to repair a drone. Now, drones are one of my favorite aspects of this, and that's something I'd love to learn how to make. Followers. Now, there are 5 different types of drones: healing, attack drones, regular drones, missile, and laser drones. Each of which does exactly what they sound like. They attack your opponents, and they follow you around, and they basically make your life, as a shooter, a lot easier. Now, every level has a little portal. As you can see down here on the right, there's a little portal that you activate at the end of the level. And this will summon a boss and increase the rate of spawn of monsters in the area at equivalent difficulty. Now, you have to survive for 90 seconds while this increased rate is happening and the boss is attacking you. And then the portal will become active. But even then, you still have to run back through the level, and you have to go kill all the monsters you missed. So you can't just leave a bunch of monsters who spawned way back in the corner and just say, oh, well, I don't need to deal with that, I can just push through. You have to go back and you have to kill everything on the level. As you can see, there's a counter above the head of this person. Now, as you can see, the ha-ha-ha difficulty in the upper right corner here. But the gameplay itself is really, really fast-paced, and so you end up collecting a lot of items and doing a lot of damage to a lot of enemies really quickly. In that sense, it's kind of like a hack and slash. As you can see, you're actually fighting 5 boss-level characters here, and you're just this little guy right there. And so items have no limit. You can collect as many items as you want. It is literally infinite. And they sort of stack on top of each other, increasing their probability of effect. As you can see, this person has been playing for 140 minutes, is at the maximum difficulty, and has collected, I believe it was 140 different items throughout killing monsters and completing chests. The reason this is possible is because at the end of the game, right before you go to the final stage, you can teleport back to the beginning and play through the game again. And so you have the opportunity to go back and complete the objectives you missed, or complete the random spawn objectives, or just collect more items before you finish the game. And now I'm going to present you the opportunity. We can go back to the beginning and start this presentation over, or we can do the credits.
Alright, I'm going to talk to you guys about Binding of Isaac Rebirth. I chose Rebirth instead of the original because you can save through your runs. Anyway, so the main goal of Binding of Isaac is to kill your mom. So, this game was made by this guy, Edmund McMillan. It's a roguelike dungeon crawler. Basically, take the original Zelda, all of the dungeons, and just put a bunch of them together, and you run through all of them to get to the end, to your mom. Although, as you play more, you get farther and farther, and you kill things other than your mom. There is a bunch of items in this game, and each one of them is gives you very different things happening to you. And a lot of them are like jokes and references. So there's like troll bombs. There's what else? There's the Bible. You get a halo. Just all sorts of crazy stuff that makes Isaac look crazy. So you have him shooting random lasers like this. You have explosions. You have him orbiting Epicac vomit shots. All sorts of different crazy combinations. And this isn't even, your standard one is just crying. And these are all some of the crazy ones I could find. There's also some challenges where it starts you off with items and gives you already a character. The one in the corner is my favorite. You just shoot one giant tear. Does a lot of damage. There's also one called the Demo Man, where you just throw bombs everywhere. Your attack is bombs. And so you can run through all of those. And there's a bunch of different characters, but these characters aren't very limiting. So like, just because you chose one character doesn't mean that you are not going to be like another character, because they're just based off of items and stats. So you can get the same items that one character would and be sort of like that character, but each one of them starts with different stats. One of the main things that's different is it's got a really good learning curve. So like Dota, I've been playing for 800 hours and I still suck. FTL, I was playing and I had no idea what I was doing, but Isaac, you know what you're doing wrong and you learn as you were playing because it corrects you and shows you why you're wrong. Sorry for the image quality. This is the best I could find. There's a bunch of bosses that's also different than what we played. Like, none of our games had dynamic boss battles where you go to the end and you fight a boss that you have to learn its patterns and learn how to defeat it if you want to continue on. So, to recap what we can learn how to teach a user appropriately. This is a roguelike, but it's also based off of seeds that it shows you. So we can learn seed-based level generation and engaging boss battles where you're not just saying, well, here's the boss, maybe if I shoot it enough, I'll kill it. You have to learn its patterns before you do anything. So here are my tiny acknowledgements.
Mark, your presentation contains spoilers.
Spoilers. No, no spoilers.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm here to tell you all why every game developer should go to the moon. This is the title of the game, To the Moon. It's an interactive story developed by Ken Gao and people at Freebird Games, presented in sort of a old Japanese RPG style aesthetic with a lot of point-and-click adventure mechanics built in. So in the game, you play as two young doctors helping fulfill a dying man's last wish. And you fulfill his last wish by essentially replacing his memories of what happened and making his memories the way they ought to have been by going back in time through his memories from when he was old to while he was young. Along the way, you have some light puzzling and exploration elements. You have to find certain things in the world, in his memories, to activate his mementos, to help you get further back through the game, exploring more of the story, adventuring through his memories deeper and deeper. Now this game, one of the reasons why we should play it is because it's weak in a lot of areas. Namely, its gameplay. It kind of sucks. The puzzles are super easy, the controls are floaty, and it's overall, in terms of like what you would expect out of a game, very, very weak. But it makes up for this in terms of all the strengths it brings to the table, and it really focuses on them. Like, it's absolutely stellar story, artwork that's simple but compelling, and an absolutely killer soundtrack that's just like, I just hear the notes and it brings me right back. It's beautiful. Another great strength of this game is its accessibility. You don't need to know anything about games to play this and learn from it. You don't need to know how a first-person shooter controls. You don't need to know how to command units, what the difference between a right-click and a left-click is. Very simple controls. My grandmother could play this game. I think that's great. I think we need more games like this in the space. It was made by pretty much one guy, Ken Gao, along with support from other people at Freebird Games, as well as some contract work in other places. And the fact that it was made by one person, for the most part, I think is a good reason to look at it in terms of what's realistic for someone's trying to strike it out on their own as an indie. And this one, he was making it in sort of a limited time and limited budget. You have to think about what are the strengths of your game. You might not be able to make super compelling gameplay or awesome mechanics and physics, but you can focus on the things that you're really good at, like awesome, compelling art and story that really help your game show through. It's this game's emphasis on focusing on what it's good at, bringing that story and art through, and just letting the rest of that stuff that's not so important support that, but kind of fade into the background and let you engage with it in the way that the developers wanted you to. And that's why we should all play it.
Okay, so this is OrthoRobot. OrthoRobot was developed by StabYourself.net, which is the name of the organization as well as their website. And they were originally formed in early 2001, and their goal is, quote, make awesome games for the masses, which I think they do pretty well. And everything they make is open source. This particular game was made in a game development competition that they had a week to work on, and they loved it so much they continued working on it, and it's one of their most polished games on their website. And it uses what they call illusory engine, which allows 3D objects to be represented using 2D objects. And it's amazing because the mechanics really take advantage of a world that is both 3D and 2D. You play as this little robot whose batteries are dying, and in order to recharge them, you have to get to the green block. But there is no direct path in most cases, and so you have to navigate this space by changing the perspective to 2D or 3D. For this example, the little